And here we are. Okay, here we are for another episode of the ZnZerna Music Hour. My name's P.T. Burnham. This astronaut in the back was given to me by my friend Isaac Ramsey, and I love him very much. So, this week, we are going to work with some stuff that we've been working with, but in a different way. Because if you were here last week, you know that I was working with these Brian Eno tracks, some covers of the material from Music for Airports, and basically talking about some of his techniques and philosophies, including generative ideas, which I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about today as we get into a track that I've been sort of deconstructing last week's track by taking the advice of one of Eno's cards. These things are called the Oblique Strategies cards. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go, Seas Futures. Secondhand Clams. Been excited to see the ongoing progress of this. The building is lit. I'm so easily thrown off course. Tonight I'm kind of tired. I had to drive from Baltimore to go to work today. I was seeing Mom. Shout outs to moms everywhere. Yesterday was Mother's Day. But yes, generative processes. So this shit is fascinating. Futures. Check this out. So you take two screen meshes, like screen doors, and you put them over each other. And if you look as you move them, you get this like wild psychedelic pattern, right? And if you take the two screens apart and look at the grid patterns, it does not indicate in any way that it's going to create these elaborate curves and almost three-dimensional patterns. Now, if you can get almost three-dimensional curvature shapes from two-dimensional screens being laid over and moved, then imagine a 3D screen, like a 3D mesh, moving along with another 3D mesh, and the kind of shapes that might arise. What the point is simple rules, a system of simple rules into which you feed a certain amount of good data or interesting data, and then the system works through these rules and generates things that are oftentimes surprising and many times more sort of multi-shaped and multifaceted than you would ever guess would result from such simple rules and such simple inputs. Something really exciting that we're going to be doing tonight. I got all the usual suspects in play. I got the pulsar is going to be giving me some of these bell sounds, which are also attached to the lights. Might get this light off here, or maybe just dim it down. So yeah, the pulsar up here is handling some metal sounds, some sort of shaker snare sounds, and the hi-hats from last week, these really pretty, where'd it go? Where'd my hi-hats go? Oh, I haven't pressed play. Okay, right. I've got the pulsar synced up to the MPC, so it won't play unless we're playing. And I don't want to play just yet. I got this string line coming out of the MPC, and I got some toms coming out of the MPC. And I got Mononoke running a general drone and some of these other strings that I'll be playing with. I've also got that MK2 that I have, the KO2, and I'm gonna do some drums from that. Like, these are interesting. Okay, so while we're talking about this shit though, this is something very fucking cool. This is called Conway's Game of Life. I don't know if you've ever heard of Conway's Game of Life, but this is basically a set of simple rules for the pixels. Pixels can either be alive or dead, on or off, and whether they are on or off from each round to the next depends on how many neighbors they have. Generally speaking, if they have just the right amount of neighbors, I think it's 3 or 4 neighbors, then they can multiply or stay alive. If they've only got 1 neighbor or 0 neighbors, they die. And if they've got too many neighbors, they die. But from a starting situation like the one that I have here, we can hit play, and according to this simple set of 6 rules in the Conway's Game of Life, these different pixels will begin to generate and go on and off based on those rules. And it will cause unexpected and interesting formations to happen. But I'm not going to push play on that just yet. We've also got the bridge footage in play. That's lovely Richmond, and this is my backyard. Alright. And this is us. Alright, so I'm not going to employ those drums just yet. I just kind of wanted to kick it for a minute. And drink drinks if you got them. All right, I'm going to hit play. I think somewhere in the middle, we're going to get into talking more about generative stuff and Eno's stuff. And okay, actually, Futures, I think you're going to like this a lot. On this little beat machine, I made some music with Brian Eno's music for airports that I then put a beat to, is sort of, put it into the form of a nice hip-hop construction. And I'm rapping over it, and it's Music for Airports is the original title of the album. So this is music for airlines, and I'm going to be going at Boeing. Boeing is like crazy, killing these whistleblowers and shit. It's kind of wild. My favorite line that I've come up with so far is how Boeing's HR has a wet works department. Just in case you want to talk about what's going on inside the factory. Okay, so I'm going to hit play here. I got some strings worked out. And only one sequence tonight. So I don't know how long this is going to last us. But I'm going to try taking it there. So a lot of that dust that you're hearing is the strega with some certain settings on the timing and the repeats to cause it to generate that kind of sandy dust. There's those hi-hats from last week. What's good, footbags? Drink drinks. I'm hoping tonight turns out good. I'm pretty tired, but I have a lot to talk about. I'm really excited about all this generative ideas and just the kind of thinking and openness that they promote. Conway's Game of Life. It works like this. I explained the pixels earlier, but basically there's 6 rules, just 6 rules regarding which pixels will live or die in each rotation, each frame of evolution. The frames get counted up on that little 0, where that 0 is on the board. So you can see how many ticks have passed, and you can watch as things evolve. So, I'm gonna hit start, and let's check out what happens with this particular arrangement. They just instantly became these. Okay. That wasn't that cool. Let's see here. We'll stop it. We'll reset it. In the lexicon, there's a bunch of shapes that do interesting things. So we can build that there, and then we'll show you what it does. Yeah. It's a fun game, and it demonstrates a very interesting aspect of reality. Which is that simple rules can create complex arrangements. Footbags, when you were playing it as a kid, how was it billed to you? Was there a philosophy behind it, or was it just an interesting, was it part of like a programming class, or what was the deal with it? Sounds very royal. Yeah. Because there are shapes that will create things that are kind of like organisms. They demonstrate behaviors. It's interesting. I might try to unleash this synth. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so check that out. Yeah, building shapes that can crawl across the screen. Or like this thing, this apparent shape that can take an input and will fire out a corresponding output that will crawl across the screen. A machine that will build a crawler as it takes in information. So one of the interesting things is that, yeah, there's all these patches of chaos, and there's these growing sort of organisms and these stationary boys, and then there's these walkers, crawlers, and those exhibit behaviors that sort of suggest continuity. You know what I mean? They suggest continuity, and the form is continuous as it moves across the screen, but it's really just a result of that form is different pixels. So it's constantly changing, but it's got the illusion of continuity. And what's really continuous is the playing out of the rules. What you're witnessing there, the real continuity is not in the shape, it's in the rule. Somebody like me is going to go ahead and apply that to like everything that we see around us, the continuity of things. Because I'm putting it together with this idea that I had about, let's just make this. I think if we don't get an input, okay, so it gets hit and produces a crawler. I guess it fires off some other features, but yeah. So I'm putting this together with like this thing, this guy here, the walker. Yes, everything goes nuts. Right, exactly. The walker is like a seed of chaos that can come in and all of a sudden, oh shit. It's hard to, you can't really place pictures to continue. Stop it. And see what happens. Introduce some chaos into the walker's path. So now it comes in now. Oh, it created another walker. And when they came together, they just created this. Oh, disappeared shape. Boom. Okay, so, but anyways, these forms, I like that. These forms are playing out a system, and they appear to be forms, just like, okay, so the human, basically I'm talking about the human consciousness and its tendency to make character forms out of things that aren't really continuous, actually. Like tornadoes or fire. I don't know if you've ever been looking at a fire and you can imagine it as a character. You've even seen it in cartoons, the little fire character. The reason we can do this is because the fire form is continuous, but it's not really there. It's like a consistent process that's happening, playing out of rules. And the apparent continuity of form is really a continuity of rules. Okay, this one's getting a little more interesting. Oh, no, it's just going to stabilize it. I had one going earlier that created maybe like 3 or 4 minutes of moving life that definitely looked like fast motion bacterial colonies or, you know, what have you. So, I really did want to talk about that this evening. I'm glad I could find an outlet for that thing. I haven't done any real systems-based generative stuff. but it's definitely possible with Pulsar. There was a little bit of it with the Dustcat Dream Drum Machine. Oh. Yes, absolutely foot bags. Actually, there are these bacterial colonies. Yes, definitely foot bags. Actually, they have certain modules in Eurorack devoted to that, and they do have programs, I think, plugins that will do the same thing. Basically, any kind of, I think it's called stochastic generation in the form of Conway's Game of Life will do that, and there are definitely things that will. So yes, I think the trick would just be finding the right instruments to put it on, and how to tailor its input for your song. But this is a whole deep rabbit hole, and it has to do with a lot of thinking that I think is quite fascinating. Because architecture is one way of doing creation, but another way of doing creation is like seeds that grow according to a plan. Like, for instance, you could, for terraform, we would be talking about like the way to apply this kind of idea to something like terraform. So instead of having a building that you try to build out of materials, you send people down there with blueprints or robots there with blueprints to pull materials together. You would basically have a seed that would be touched down, and it would gather what it needs and react to the environment. And it would just basically have directives like build walls this far apart, like basically growing and building like a plant. And the reason this would be desirable is because it would be reactive to the environment, and so you could potentially create like one kind of seed and then variants that could terraform different planets, different environments. Also, seeds are very these tiny bits of information, and this is another thing that's extremely interesting. And actually, for fact, I was thinking about you the other day when I was thinking about this stuff, because one of the guys that Eno was talking to, I forget who it was, some Swedish guy, I think. He was talking about minimalism and minimal data. Like minimal data necessary to create elaborate things. This is obviously strictly related to that. And I thought about the Rhoda, the Rumble of Ancient Times machine by Soma, that it uses a very, very small data computer to generate really interesting sounds, because you don't really need a lot of powerful data to generate interesting sounds, or even to generate interesting sequences. We really got kind of like an overkill thing, and you can tell that the human race is super basic. And we're talking about generating more than just like blips and bloops. I mean, a lot of it does sound very bit crunchy, but that kind of noise, is, there's something really alive about it, and in a way that people might associate with analog gear. But this is another thing that I ran across while I was researching this stuff, because there's a lot of romance about analog stuff, and I have a lot of analog computer music stuff here, but I also use a lot of digital stuff, and really, I mean, whatever's best for the job, I use what's best for the job. And in a medium like film, you might expect somebody like David Lynch, to be in support of like something classic like film. Big fan of theater in general, like movies being presented on a big screen. Presentation is important. And he said he would never go back to film. He was only going to work because he said, I can do lighting with like a light bulb, like multiple light bulbs, because I can see exactly what I'm doing, flood, fade. I can just set up the shot so I can see exactly where I'm at and what I'm getting. And he said to go back to film is so slow. And he kind of got this look in his eye, like slow, not in a good way, slow like death. And that really inspired me, the fact that we have this really quick way of creating music these days. We can really get some things started and play around with the sounds very quickly and very easily. So that was a real inspiration in terms of basics, digital versus analog, and basically whatever's good for the job. And a lot of times that is something with not a lot of bulk power pushing a lot. When I used to ride motorcycles, you'll notice, motorbikes that just start going, like Harley Davidsons, especially, like, talking about 2,000 cc's, talking about 2 liters of horsepower, or like 2.5 liters of horsepower. This is not necessary really for a motorcycle. A motorcycle can go just as fast as you need it to with an efficient motor and about 500 cc's of power, 750 cc's of power, maybe. You don't need these enormous engines, but we like to have like more power than we need, and we really could be reaching for more efficiency. And that kind of thinking is kind of thought towards elaborate systems being caused by basic systems interacting, and using that to save data space, using that to save to just be more efficient is something that is interesting. But yeah, I think I've rambled on enough. I'm gonna take it to just the KO sampler here. And we're going to switch tacks a little bit. I'm probably not going to end up jamming on this next track for that long. That's true. No, you're not wrong. And humans love to do it. Yeah, humans love to do it. See how the outside's doing. Still pretty. I feel very lucky to live in a place where I can see a lot of green. So I totally took the pianos away from last week's thing, which the most beautiful thing about last week's stuff was the pianos. And the reason I did this was because, I have been on an unabashed Eno kick, so I've been looking at these oblique strategies, and the oblique strategies, one of the cards says, cut something vital out. Something that you really think in your mind, you're like, ooh, that's the best part of the whole thing. Why even work with the thing if I can only have that part? Cut it out. And then see what goes on. And you might arrive at new textures and new things that can be melded later. Or you might just create a whole new offspring. It's like this gardening method where you can cut and clone plants and be like, oh, well, what happens if the idea works in this direction? I like it. So these textures are cool. And they're mostly being generated again from the strega, which is also being stimulated. The strega is being stimulated from some systems within the pulsar. They are kind of chaotic, but we can talk about them more at another time. They're just being generated from this module on the pulsar called the Chaos module, which is sort of random. I really like sort of random. Repeating patterns. For instance, the chaos generates a repeating pattern that is 15 steps long, so that every 16 steps, it changes its positioning within it. So you can use that to really spice things up in a constantly, this is how you can get an enormously long variant pattern with a very short pattern, actually shorter than your initial sequence of 16 beats. You make one of them 15 beats and let it play against it, and the rotations consistently get more and more out of sync, causing new variants. One of the examples of this, I won't play it here today because it's psychotic. It's one of the most psychotic pieces of music I've ever heard. It's called It's Gonna Rain by Steve Reich. It's Gonna Rain by Steve Reich. You've never heard anything like this if you haven't heard it. And it's really simple. And one of the most amazing things to me about it is that it was made in the late 60s. And what it is a couple of different, there are two like movements. One is just two samples of this preacher talking about it's gonna rain. And they're run side by side, but the loops are slightly different lengths. So you get this, at the beginning it just sounds like it's gonna rain, but as the loops go, they get out of sync. So you get these wild phasing things where certain parts of the sequence disappear. So you get like, it's rain, it's rain. It's like you get really crazy wild variants that you would never expect that start to really crush into some phasing noise by the middle of it once everything is really out of sync before it comes back together again. And the second movement is double psychotic because it sounds, the initial samples are even crazier. Same preacher from the same sermon, but a crazier sample. And this time it's sort of chopped up and panned in this way that the screaming preacher is like begins to phase, and it turns into like horns and birds, and it just gets really insane. And this was all created in like the late 60s. So I don't know, just hearing that made me realize, like, again, these complex sounds, you really should. Steve Reich was a true pioneer, and he's got a lot of work. I'm new to the game. I'm just putting my foot in this universe, and it's like, whoa, there's so much interesting stuff. The second part of It's Gonna Rain sounds like a Death Grips intro. And I'm just picturing this guy making this stuff and being like, that's the stuff. While the Beatles are, I love you, yeah, she loves you, that, like, it's an interesting thing that the arc of music has a hidden history of noise. Populated by weirdos. What can I say? I gotta love that. The last thing I want to show you. Maybe I'll just let this run and stop this. No, that's not the beat, though. But it's fun. So, yeah. Check out Steve Reich. And let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about it. Because I think it's an idea. These are ideas who warrant a lot of exploring by a lot of people. And, yeah. Oh, something else that talked about is art being a safe place to try these ideas out. Generative systems and stochastic music in general. Anyways, I am pretty tired tonight. I am going to change this KO. By the way, I haven't talked about it yet, but more and more, I love this little sampler. Especially for how much it costs and what it can do. This little sampler by Teenage Engineering, the KO2. Disco lights, okay, you can see it. It's this little guy. You can find it online. It's really nice. It just can, especially as a sidecar sampler. You can do some stuff, but you can also use it as just a musical sketchpad or to do some basically done ideas. I have one of those basically done ideas here. And it's actually been a week since I played around with it, so I'm going to run through some sequences and probably be as lost on it as anybody else. But, what's up? On Infinite Zero, good to see you. Good to know that you're there. I'm going to run this sequence. Futures, if you're still there, when I was making this sequence, I found something that fit perfectly. When you find a sample that fits perfectly, not just tuning, but BPM, it's just crazy. I wish I might be able to run that sample inside the mic for y'all, but I don't have it in the computer yet. But this is the beat. So these are all the pianos from one of the tracks from Music for Airports. 1-2, I think, is the name of it. So I'm gonna be and then you can mangle them up. The Teenage Engineering stuff is known for its manglers. Like, get in there and smash it up. So, check this shit out. I'll see if I can play the sample off of the iPad. I'm pretty sure that I can. Okay, let's see.
737, come on, father, let's go. 737, come on, father, let's go. Hold me baby down in Memphis on a midnight
I also just really like the hands-on nature of it. The clicky little buttons and the little fader. It's like, it is like a toy, but it is just like the pocket operators, able to make more than just toy type music.
737, come on, father, let's go. Hold me baby down in Memphis on a midnight.
I love that fits, and that the line is 737 coming out of the sky. I'm just gonna be hiding all sorts of good shit. Taking pot shots at Boeing. on this track. It's just going to be a fun little track to make. Also, it encourages sample management with its small memory. I mean, I think 64 megabytes is a little bit like, Jesus Christ, couldn't you make it a little bigger in 2024? But, like these pianos, for instance, these I had to speed up the samples to put them in so that they took up less space, and then slow them down again once I put them in the machine. And that results in a certain type of lo-fi sound that for these samples is not bad. I'm not gonna say it's like a miracle sauce or something, but there is something nice, especially when you have reverb inside of a sample, and then that gets crushed and then elastified or inflated again. Keeps wanting to slip down into 83 BPM, but it's supposed to be 85. This wasn't playing quite right. Love that shit. So that's gonna be music for airlines. Very simple. It encourages a simple way of making beats, but you can hook it up to some MIDI stuff and get some pretty cool stuff out of it. I really do feel like as a sidecar, because you have Footbags, you have the SP, right? I feel like it would accompany the SP just as well as it accompanies the MPC, where what it can do is decouple your rhythm tracks from what's happening inside your main sampler, so you can run different effects on them. Yeah, I feel like you can run the separation of the two makes it a little visually easier for me to be like, oh, my rhythm section is over here and I can play with it. My main sampler section is inside of this box. It results in some kinds of chaos sometimes that might be not desirable, but it also creates a more live feel, especially if, like for me, I just don't even MIDI sync them. So I have to hit play on the beat, old school DJ style. But I think this thing is really like pretty. We were dancing to it on the porch the other night. It was great. Me and Visitor 10. Then again, there's another thought in there when it comes to systems and the way that we create. Because I had this thought the other day. So something about AI and art, if you look at it in this one particular way, I mean, I'm an artist who's been doing it for 20 years. It is making me a little bit of money at this point. but nothing that's gonna free me from any kind of working class paycheck to paycheck type life. And I am very, very cool with this. Like, my life is nice. Check out this outside. I got all this greenery, and I can sit out there on the porch and I can sip coffee and think about shit, and then come in here and run exercises. It's great. So as an artist that enjoys it just for the shit of it, which I know Footbags, I know C's Futures, I know One Infinite Zero, y'all are people that do that. You know, we might have ideas of yes, making successful bids for a little bit of recognition or money, etc. You know, for those things. But here's what AI does. It removes, it frees us from all extemporary and like non-direct reasons for doing art. If you want just recognition or some money or whatever, you could just have AI do it and market it and stuff. It's fine, right? It's like if that's what you're looking for. But what I want to do is make art. So there's no, AI does not touch my reason for doing things and the enjoyment that I get. It doesn't have anything to do with it, really. But yes, you can really view it as liberating from any thoughts of doing anything else with art other than just making and creating. So yeah, I was looking at things that way. So yeah, relating that back to systems, it's like, yes, I can program a system that will make pianos and run them and theoretically do it for infinite time, creating infinite variants. But what I want to do is play piano. So it's really about finding what you want to do, and then, you know, maybe I want to play piano to some really, really nice human-sounding drums, but can't find a human to do it, and can use some kind of generator to generate human-sounding drums. I can do that with Logic. You know, Logic has a generator, but I never use it because I like just generating patterns and playing to that. It's fun. But if you needed that tool to generate this idea, it's there. And it becomes just another tool and non-threatening once you realize that on the back end, in terms of like generating whole songs, replacing artists and stuff like that, all that it's really doing is freeing you from any other expectation other than doing the art. So I think it can be very liberating. Yeah, so figure out the systems you want to use and use them. And that's it. I think we're going to kick it out. It's been really nice hanging out. Thanks for listening to me jabber on about some more theoretical stuff. It's nice to be able to bounce these ideas around. How's that Richmond Bridge doing? Still perfectly light outside. Summer's so weird. Alright, there's our lonely little... We can provoke this guy. There he goes. Turn him into geometric shape. And then you can poke one of those, two of those, three of those, and start something into motion. Take it easy, Futures. Take it easy, everybody. I'm gonna thank my Dust Cats. I got a little bit of a new thank you screen. Oh, that game of life is still running. Thank you to my Digicats. Super thank you to my Zerna Cats, Ben Dasher, Rin Cat, Gerard Stoltz, Kenny Creech, Melissa Shit, Erica Pontiac. We're stabilized up here on the game of life. Thank you to Mikey. Thank you to Eric Akers, Visitor 10, Sam Seeger. Thanks to Mama Cat. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks to Jen Dudley. Happy Mother's Day to you too. Austin Avalanche Snell, Anna Cat. Welcome back. Wayne Anderson, Austin Cat. Scarlett Herrera. Babe, it's good to know you're down there under the wheels. Keeping things together. Dog fuck. Thank you very much. We should get together this week. Last but not least, we got a Royal Blue. Barry Cat, thanks for helping out with the the rave last week. We won't do it this week. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Anything is possible. And truly appreciate all the support. And hope that y'all find some lovely sounds in your life the rest of the week. This is PT Burnham signing off. We'll bit crush this. Good night, everybody.